Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Business Connections Live. Hello there, my name's Steve Harland, and in the first of these two specials for Christmas and the New Year period, we wanted to do something a little bit different to reflect on some of the programs that were presented so far since we launched Business Connections Live, it seems like ages ago, but way back in September. So what was behind the thinking when we started the program? How did we determine its content? And how is it this program is going to help you efficiently run your business? Well, let me explain a little bit of the thinking behind the program. I'm delighted to welcome my co-director of Business Connections Live, Linda Pazant. Linda,
Hello,
great
Steve.
to have you in the studio. Live for once, we're not reading the news, which is really nice.
That's true.
When we look back when we were sitting down and we were originally planning this particular program, what were the things that you wanted it to achieve?
I wanted to make certain that small businesses that we'd actually met at networking events and so on, when they've been speaking to us, they were saying that one of the problems that they had is if they needed to find out any information, they could go to the internet, but they have to read through reams and reams of information. So we thought, well, wouldn't it be better if you could sit back and just listen to what people had to say who'd been there and done that, and could actually provide insights into the problems that they'd had and how they got around them.
Now, I'm very much the guy that does the technical side of things here, and
Yes,
we have a wonderful studio that we've got, of course, and it's been here for quite some time. But you're the person that speaks to our guests who come on. When
Yes.
you're explaining it to them, what kind of things do you say about the program? How do you explain the program to them, and what are the benefits to a guest who comes on the show?
Well, I try to explain to them the makeup of our audience, which are small to medium-sized businesses, the types of problems that they've said to us that they've had in business and starting a business, trying to find out information, so that the guest understands that what they're here to do is not do a sell, but to impart information to the viewer. And what we do is allow them that hour to have a discussion with you, come up with some answers for some of the questions that we pose to them for small business, and at the end of the program they go away with that hour for their website that they can use on their website to promote
And that really
themselves.
is our way of saying thank you to them,
It
isn't it?
is, yes, that's right.
That's what's so clever about it, and that's what makes the program so different. We're not sitting here and we're saying it's not all take from us. We're trying to give something back as well to the people who get involved with the program. And the guests, I'm sure Linda would agree, but our guests that we've had over the past 3 months or so have been just absolutely brilliant. And what's been interesting about it is that they are keen to share their knowledge with you. Tell you what we're going to do on this particular show. We're going to look back at the best-ofs. Now, you can look at the entire programs if you wish, but if we go right back to the very beginning, our very first guest that we had on the program with Paul Bridgeland, who is part of the Best of Guildford. He's also an entrepreneur in his own right, actually, and a lady called Nikki Creel. Now, Paul we've known for quite a long time, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
But Nikki, it was a brand new introduction from
Nikki was a brand new introduction through a networking event that we attended of Paul Bridgeland's. And when I spoke with her, she was telling me that she had written this book.
And there it is.
How to Twitter for Business Success. And so we immediately asked her to come on the program because some of the businesses that we've been talking to were saying they were having problems, they weren't sure how to use Twitter. She was absolutely ideal guest for the first program.
So let's give you a little bit of a reminder of what happened on program number 1 from Business Connections Live.
When you do something like social media, it can take up a lot of time. And you need to be focused on what you want to get out of for your business.
There are people making a lot of money out of social media. I'm not saying Nikki's making lots of money out of social media, but she's done very well through social media. And in fact, I've been on 1 or 2 of Nikki's courses.
People do business with people they know, like and trust. And and that still applies. People haven't changed, the technology has changed.
We've kind of gone round in a bit of a circle. It all became a little bit impersonal with the internet to start with, and now we're going back to the fact that people want to know who they're dealing with. They want to know about the people that they're dealing with, and that's where the networking and the other areas that we're involved in come into play.
There's something called social proof in terms of how other people recommending it. But the thing is, you can have 15,000 people who've liked a page, but you're not getting any business from them.
But there it is. How did Twitter for Business Success?
For Twitter, I always recommend that you commit at least 15 minutes a day, but that's probably all you need to do with Twitter. Is if you spend just 15 minutes a day, it can be very, very effective.
The social media thing is to take an interest in other people, and then they'll take interest in you.
If you say tweet at a certain time, you get together a group of people who will always be there, and you form a community. And where people like you, they will promote your stuff.
You know, selling to people at network is like throwing up all over them. It's a horrible sort of coarse, old-fashioned way of going about business to pitch yourself at people. So I always say to people at my groups that it's not, please don't sell to the room. What you're doing is you're going along to the event to ask for referrals.
There is that old story, isn't there, about being at a party in a dark room, winking at the most attractive girl. If she can't see you, she'll never know you're there.
Yeah.
For networking to work, I believe that it's got to be a regular thing. Going along to one meeting here, there or everywhere, dipping your toe in the water is not going to achieve a lot.
Choose one thing, learn how to use it properly. You can take all those skills onto the next platform, but quite often people say, oh, you need a Facebook page, you need a Twitter account, you need a Google Plus, YouTube video, etc., and you get overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, you don't do anything. Twitter may sound complicated, and I know there's a big fear factor with Twitter, but it's probably the simplest to come to grips with. You've got less than 140 characters.
So all I hear is, I don't want to read about someone, what toothpaste they used this morning, but you don't have to read all of that. And some people, one guy who recently signed up, he said, oh God, you've got almost 4,000 followers. How do you read all those tweets? Well, you don't read them, you just read the ones that you want to.
I need to follow you, don't I? I don't think I have.
I think I'm following you.
You're following us.
And I tell you what, I get terribly upset if people don't follow me back.
You take them outside. Absolutely fascinating programme, Paul Bridgeland and Nikki Creel. In fact, I'm sure it is fair to say that we learnt a lot about Twitter ourselves, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I must admit, I read Nikki's book cover to cover, and although we thought we knew quite a bit about Twitter, there were an awful lot of things there where you think, oh, I didn't know that, and that was really interesting, and we were able to put that to good use.
And that is the absolute fact. If you are into Twitter, the book is absolutely fantastic. If you want to find out more about social networking, we also in that program talked about Google as well, the power of Google, and of course Google are the owners of YouTube, and you're probably or maybe watching this program on YouTube at the moment, and if you are and you'd like to subscribe to the channel, please be our guest. That would be absolutely fabulous. Now, that was programme number 1. Business Connections Live, of course, goes out every Wednesday night. So, very quickly and very rapidly, programme number 2 came around. And our guests on that evening were 2 fine people who gave us examples of how you get your product to market. Now, it's probably the most important thing. If you provide a service, that's maybe a different kettle of fish. But if you actually have a product that you want to get in the market, how do you go about it? Now, if it's a physical product, maybe you're going to use Amazon. But if it is something maybe of an intellectual type, maybe it's just the written word, and you want to get that to market, there's a whole industry that has grown up recently around internet marketing. And we had 2 great guests on Business Connections Live number 2.
Yes, we did, Steve. Gavin McCoy and Lynn Parry-Jones. And Gavin McCoy was talking to us about the intellectual property that he puts out onto the internet, which is downloadable, whereas Lynn Parry-Jones sends physical product, and she sends it via Amazon. And she was talking about the do's and don'ts of Amazon.
I think the other thing that was nice about Lynn too, when she was talking about the differences between using Amazon and also using eBay as well.
Yes.
So if you're just maybe dipping your toe into the water, then eBay is going to be perfect for you. But if you're actually looking to make a proper solid business, then Amazon is going to be the way to go. But you have to be cautious with that.
Yes, you do, because Amazon are very, very customer centric, and therefore customer service is key with Amazon, and you have to remember that when you are fulfilling products to your customers.
You're watching the first of our 2 specials over the Christmas and New Year period, and time now to do a little bit of a recap of what happened on Business Connections Live number 2.
Well, I think the term information publisher is quite a good one, but generally online entrepreneur embraces just about everything.
Hi, I'm Lynn Parry-Jones and I'm the MD of Naturals Best Limited.
Yeah, there are people who, strangely enough, will spend a lot of money on training courses, educate themselves, and for some reason they just don't follow it through to that final stage where they push the button and try and get money coming in. Something seems to hold them back, and it might be fear of failure, it might be some technical info they need that they haven't quite mastered, but something like 3% of people who get on board in internet marketing actually succeed at it. But it is a persistence business where you really have to see things through, and actually the key word is to take action.
Is it a great way to go? Is it an easy process to get selling on Amazon?
It's easy to get selling on Amazon, easy, but it's not easy to keep the momentum and keep both the Amazon customers happy and Amazon themselves. And also, if you're not 100% committed to your business, Amazon will just suspend your account. But if someone thinks they just want a little bit of sort of a tickle into the Amazon marketplace and just play around with it, you can't. eBay is more suitable for people that aren't really, if they want to run their business from the garden shed.
Buying online, there is a degree of resistance from the point of view of the buyer. So I use PayPal as my payment processor, and they're much the same as Amazon are, where they offer the buyer an unconditional guarantee. In fact, I do on all of my websites, 30-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. And there are a tiny percentage of people who will take you for a ride, who will get the product, download it, and then request a refund.
So when it comes to upsells for your business, are you in a position to do upsells to your customers?
Well, I'm working on some partnered services, personal training, massage, weight loss.
And that will be the upsell that you'll be able to offer?
Yeah.
We did this two-way joint venture, and I think within 7 days sold £12,000 worth of the courses that I had. Did exactly the same webinar with another internet marketer on a 50-50 split, and did just about the same amount again. So they give me access to their list, they take 50% of the money that I generate, and I walk away with the other half.
Gavin McCoy and Lynn Barry-Jones, a fantastic show, absolutely fascinating. Once again, if you want to find out a little bit more about the background to eBay, Amazon, and also internet marketing, then it's going to be a great show for you to catch up on. That's Business Connections Live number 2. Now, number 3, we started to delve into the world of the internet, didn't we?
Yes, we did. However, this was unusual because I'd found Paul Imrie and I wanted him to come in and talk about SEOing your website. But when we spoke with him, he said one of the things that people don't think about is, what is your website going to say? It's all very well trying to SEO it, but if it's talking nonsense, then there's no point. So he actually went through building a website, what you actually do and what you're trying to tell your customer before you can actually SEO your website. So let's have a look at program number 3, Business Connections Live.
We've got all the information that you need when it comes to creating, developing and talking to the right people about perhaps maybe the most important marketing tool that you have, your website.
Predominantly web design, but our customers ask us to do other things. They ask us to help us with sometimes search engine optimization or PR activities or copywriting. So we're quite flexible and try and work with our customers to achieve the best results for them. So you want to make money. So how do you make money? Well, you have to sell product. How do you sell product? You have to communicate, okay? So at the end of the day, this is all about communication. And to communicate, you need a marketing plan. And as part of that marketing plan, you have a website. It might be the biggest component of that marketing plan, or it might not. It really depends on your business. Yeah? If you're a taxi company, is the website the biggest thing, or is it clean cars? Yeah, all these things are marketing. So the point of entry, you will see that there are big buttons that clearly address each market area.
All right.
So you can see at the top end of the market, they've got
here it comes. Right, yes.
the contractor screed. So the name says what it does on the tin. They're working on big contracts, big buildings, big sites. And then you've got the builders who are mid-market. They get the same level of service as the big guys, but without the hassle. And then finally, you've got the home market, the domestic market. And there you'll see an image with nice feet. And we're not into the hard hats. It's all about how nice your home's going to be. It's a dream. But the main focus here is making it an easy experience. So you've worked hard to get someone to come to your website. Hopefully they've bought into your messages. So why would you let them down by making it difficult to contact them? So here on this particular site, we're using a very simple device. It's called a Call Me Back button. Yes, you provide the stories and the content, but you do need people like us to help and guide you to make it an effective website. And at the end of the day, the best business comes from referrals. So, you know, if you have one good customer on your list and they refer you to 10, they're actually doing the business for you, aren't you? First thing is, don't panic, okay? So if you are in a mode of panic and your thinking is not clear, the website will reflect that. So you'll have a panicky website with mumbo jumbo and jumble. So number one, get your head into the right place. Think about your business. You know your business. You are driving your business. You know where you need to go. You know what products you need to achieve. Again, CSE Screening, they thought about the segmentation of their market. Mm-hmm. They knew that if they went to certain sectors of the market, they had to deliver in a certain way. Okay, so that is a business driver, business imperative. Have those things clear in your head, then you're ready to start building a website.
So that was Paul Imrie with some very interesting insights into what you do with your website before you start to SEO it.
I remember talking to Paul about the whole thing, and I said to him, what's the first thing you should do when you start setting up your website? And he said, don't panic.
Yes,
and I think that's a very good
true.
phrase, actually. So whatever you do, don't panic when you are setting your website up. So Paul Imrie, fantastic program once again. Now, one of the fundamentals when it comes to business, of course, is the whole process of selling. From my background, when I used to work in direct response television, the shopping TV channels, by a better name, the whole purpose or the whole way that the salesperson screen was working was there were steps that you would work your way through, and at the end of each of those steps you would always ask for the call to action. Now the thing is that when it comes to person selling, you're working your way through those steps as well. Never ever be afraid of asking for the order. That call to action is all important, and there are a lot of people in business who really are frightened of just asking for the order. They'll do anything but ask for it, and I think we've seen that, haven't we, with
yes,
the people that we've dealt with as well over the past month. Now Ben Kench we saw actually at one of the Best of Guildford events, didn't we?
Yes, we did, with Paul Bridgeland. He was one of Paul Bridgeland's guests.
And I think to a certain extent when he was there he did a fantastic presentation, nearly frightening some of the people that were there.
He is so passionate, Ben Kench, and it oozes out into the audience, and it fills you with that, I can do that, and I can go away and I can sell, I know I can.
Ben Kench, an absolutely fantastic guy, a real education when it comes to selling, just reminds you about the fundamentals, reminds you about the principles of getting out there and getting the order. He's also the author of the best-selling book, Selling for Dummies as well, for that matter. If you want to find out more about Ben Kench, we'll give you a bit of a taster right now on Business Connections Live. Now, when it comes to sales, businesses are all about sales. There's no two ways about it. Nobody can get your product. Nobody can get the thing that you're selling. No one can get anything from you, and you can't make any money if you don't sell something. But a lot of us have this inbuilt fear of selling. So many people will go into the industry and not really understand just what selling is all about. Now, some people seem to have it, and some people seem not to have it. But maybe in the world of selling, maybe we've all got it, we just don't realise it. So we're going to be talking to our guest tonight. I'm going to introduce him right now. We'll have a word with him in a moment. It's Ben Kench. You are the author of Selling for Dummies. It's one of the top selling books on sales technique, isn't it?
It is actually the largest brand of educational books in the world, and in the UK this is the #1 seller for anything to do with selling, yes. And that development of the relationship, the connection thereafter, is often missing from web-based sales systems. I'm sure that if we pulled apart some of their stats, if in fact they kept them, they probably don't sell every time they get in there, and even the times when they do sell, they possibly don't make any margin, so they're not really selling, they're sort of delivering and not making any money, and that's one of the critical factors that small businesses miss these days. They're not really selling with any skill, so they're not building in margin. But at least if you're in the door, you've got a chance. Getting in the door is a whole different sales skill. Instinctively, that 5-year-old child across every race understands that if it pushes a little bit, if it asks again, if it perhaps plays on that emotional heartstring, if it possibly interrupts with some other psycho of what I look like, that child at 4 or 5 instinctively does that across all backgrounds and races. So I would argue that instinctively you and I were the same, and all those that say they sell and don't sell are the same. But it's that development environment where a behaviour was encouraged or squashed that leads to the end result. So the essence of nailing it is a good idea, because while they're in that emotional zone, capitalise. But don't think that in itself is safety, because if you haven't done the other bits right, they'll ring up and say, I don't care what I signed, I'm not going ahead. Number one, stop trying to sell in an overt sales way. My first tip is to be yourself. Let you out. If you don't use the correct terminology, if you use your language instead of professional language, if you don't think you've got all those labels, so what? The core of you, why do you do what you do? Do you believe in it? Why do you go to them? Is it good for them? Why do you do what you do? That's number one, let you out, okay? Second, be organised, be professional. It isn't going to give me confidence that you'll look after me after today if when you first walked in you're flustered and you've got bits missing and you've forgotten something. I'm going to think that you'll forget about me after I've bought. So be organised and make sure that you are prepared and you've got what I need. And probably the third thing, make sure that when it comes to the actual deliverability, you have tailored it for me. Because if you show me something in the close that goes against something I muted earlier, I'm going to think, well, you didn't listen. So actually, no, I'm not signing that. But if you take your time and say, actually, Ben, I've put this in here because of what you said earlier, and I've put this in here because of what you said earlier, then I'm going to go, yeah, I like that. So all those three, but what you'll do is you'll change the dynamic from a sale buy to a let's do this together, and that's the power.
Ben Kench and his book Selling for Dummies is absolutely fabulous, well worth buying that. You can get it on Amazon as well, for that matter. So that was Ben Kench looking at the whole world of sales, but there was one topic that we were really desperate to actually cover, weren't we?
We were, and that was LinkedIn. And I managed to find a chap called Steve Mills who calls himself the prudent marketer, and what he doesn't know about LinkedIn isn't worth knowing.
I remember the night of the programme, actually, I sat here, and in the first 10 minutes I remember going, that's it, don't need to watch any more, because the first 10 minutes actually gave you so much information from him.
Yes, he's a very knowledgeable man. And I also think that the way that he got the points across was so easy to understand. So if you've been faced with LinkedIn and you're at the beginning of LinkedIn, he is the chap to listen to. And of course he does training courses as well. So
well, I was going to say, subsequently we went on the training courses too, didn't we?
We did, and we learned a lot too.
We were finding out more and more about LinkedIn. It is a very, very powerful tool. If you're not using LinkedIn in your business, then perhaps maybe you should be. And to give you a little bit of a tease, once again, here is Steve Mills, the Prudent Marketeer, on Business Connections Live. Now, if you're thinking about getting into the whole world of social media, I know, we've already covered it once before, where we were looking at the likes of Twitter. But there is one biggie out there at the moment, and that biggie that is out there, the one that really dominates the business scene, of course, is LinkedIn. Now, talk to some people and they will say, well, yeah, it's okay, I use it a bit. Other people, well, they just don't use it at all. And really, is it a case of being sort of a happy compromise between the two? Or should you, as a business owner, be thinking about using LinkedIn and seeing your profits increase? That seems a kind of an appealing proposition, doesn't it? With us tonight, we've got the man who's going to be telling us all. It's Steve Mills. Steve, it's great to have you with us. Thank you very much for coming.
I got the initial interest probably about 10 years ago. I joined LinkedIn like many people do and found myself on there, but not really doing very much, to be honest, for probably about the first 4 or 5 years. Then really came that social media boom where everybody was talking, you know, you got to be on social media. And as a marketing person, I thought, I need to take this thing a little bit more seriously. So I decided that I was going to really invest some time and effort in really understanding one particular social media, and that was LinkedIn. For example, I've got 30,000 Twitter followers, which is great, but I've only got 1,800 connections on LinkedIn. And yet I win far more business personally from LinkedIn because of the quality of those connections. All those 1,800 people, they all know me. Because I'm on there on a regular basis, I comment, I use video on there, and I've become in my little world, a person that everybody knows. I'm going to be able to send this message, this product, if you will, out to all my LinkedIn connections, which is 1,800 people, all my Twitter connections, which is 30,000 people, plus all the people who are in my 50 groups. You're allowed to join 50 groups on LinkedIn.
That's incredibly
Absolutely
powerful.
Incredible. Guess how many people that comes to?
I have no idea.
1.5 million people. What you should be doing is I suppose the number one thing is setting up your personal and company profile. That's an absolute must. You've got to do that. Once you're doing that, get onto LinkedIn and start using it. You know, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know, the answer is you might win some business. So get on there, get using LinkedIn, and use it in a consistent manner. The third thing I'd say would be to use groups. Groups are incredibly powerful. There's many, many ways of doing so. I've highlighted 2 or 3 tonight, but there's lots of other things that you need to know in order to utilize this fantastic opportunity on LinkedIn. The other thing which we didn't talk about tonight is getting recommended. I always believe
the
that,
endorsements.
Yeah, the endorsements.
Yes,
The recommendations are really, really powerful. You know, it's great. I can go onto LinkedIn and tell you all about how wonderful my business is, but on LinkedIn I've got over 80 recommendations from other people who've been onto my seminars saying how, you know, that this has really made a big difference in their business. And everybody listening today can do exactly the same thing. So get recommendations, get quality recommendations.
And that was Steve Mills, a very popular guest on the programme and back by popular demand on the 15th of January.
That's right, the prudent marketeer. And really the programme was absolutely fascinating. Once again, I cannot endorse it enough. Do watch the whole programme right here on our website. And in fact, if you do, and you are watching at the moment this particular programme on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on the website, well, please become a member of the website as well, because that way we'll be able to inform you of some of the training courses that we've got coming up in the new year. And talking about New Year's, it probably is a little bit of a time to reflect on what has been happening in business over the past 12 months, and with an update on that for this edition and for our next special edition as well, looking back at the year's news in business. Here's Katie Child.
Here is a roundup of the top business news from 2013. In this week's edition, I will be looking at the main stories between January and June. And next week, I will be continuing with the second half of the year. So, the year began with HMV going into administration after 90 years of trading. HMV, the UK's largest employer, was hit by the string of high street closures. It had closely followed the collapse of other high street retailers, Jessops and Comet. In February, PayPal expanded their company by launching a European version of the PayPal Here mobile payments device. The accessory, which is about the size of a smartphone, allows SMEs to accept credit and debit cards using chip and PIN. There is a nominal fee for the device, however, it makes it easier for companies to take secure card payments face-to-face. March saw the annual government budget. George Osborne focused on several pleasing factors for business, including a freeze in fuel duty, It also featured a rise in the personal tax allowance to £10,000 a year, as well as a cut in corporation tax to 20% and a £2,000 a year cut in national insurance contributions for business. However, the failure to cap or freeze business rates did not go down particularly well with small companies and retailers. On a lighter note, April saw the announcement by Mervyn King, the Governor of the Bank of England, that Winston Churchill, the iconic British politician and Prime Minister from the 1940s, would be the next figure featured on the £5 banknote. It's likely to begin circulation in 2016. In May, Bill Gates regained his title as the richest man in the world, with a fortune of approximately $72.7 billion, beating the Mexican mobile tycoon Carlos Slim. During his career at Microsoft, Bill Gates held positions of CEO and Chief Software Architect. He still remained the chairman, but only owned 5% of the company. In June, the United States International Trade Commission ruled that Apple had infringed on a Samsung patent, and consequently were issued with a ban for the import and sale of some of the older but still popular devices such as the iPhone 4. Well, that's it for the week on the Business News Roundup. In the next edition, I will be looking at the stories from the rest of the year, including how the economy is growing, new technology, and a positive step for women in business. So if you have any questions or queries for the show, please contact us on all social media or email studio@businessconnectionslive.com.
And my thanks to Katie Child. So then, Linda, the next one was one of your instigations. It was talking to the Chamber and also to Vanessa as well when it came to the whole world of marketeering, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and what an interesting programme that was. Louise Punter came on. She's the Chief Executive of Surrey Chambers of Commerce, but she came on to talk about Chambers of Commerce generally and how they can really help the small to medium-sized businesses. And to be honest with you, as far as Louise is concerned anyway, nothing is too much trouble. If you need help with anything, if she can't help you, she'll find somebody that does. She was excellent. And Vanessa Lanham Day, the killer marketer, as she bills some of her networking events, she was so full of energy. But what she was trying to get across was, don't sit on your laurels. If you want to market your product, get out there and do it.
You've got a plan for success, haven't you? You've actually just got to do that. And that's exactly what Vanessa and both Louise were talking about on the day. The other thing that I loved about the fact, talking to Louise, was her enthusiasm and the fact that as a chamber, they are there to help businesses. And of course, I think we don't want to make the programme Surrey concentric. Okay, that's what a studio is. But at the end of the day, it does show, it gives an example of what chambers are doing up and down the UK.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it?
It does.
It does indeed. And it does indeed. And it's time to meet both Louise and also Vanessa right now when they joined us here on Business Connections Live. If you're thinking about maybe doing some additional marketing for your business, how do you go about doing that? What are the tricks that are out there? What are the things you should be considering? And if you'd like to find out more about the chambers, now there are chambers up and down the country. We have got Louise Punter. She's the CEO of Surrey Chamber of Commerce. Louise, it's lovely to have you with us tonight. And also with us today we've got Vanessa Lanham Day. She is the MD of On Track Marketing. Vanessa, it's lovely to have you with us as well.
Lovely to be here, Steve.
But actually, today's Chambers of Commerce are absolutely responding to businesses and creating activities, events, different services, projects that are actually meeting today's needs.
And I now describe myself as a marketing inspirer because for good or ill, what I seem to be really good at is making people do stuff and getting behind them and really giving them sort of a sharp stick. And I do that in my consulting capacity with on-track marketing. We do lots of one-to-one with people, but for a lot of people that's expensive perhaps, it's more than they're able to invest. And I just get really excited about it because we've been having a huge amount of success in Surrey.
What do you think the big misconceptions are about the chamber? What are they? What are the things that people get wrong about you?
That it is purely a networking organisation, that it is attended only by, I must be very careful here, but one category of person, but actually it is attended by all ages, all types of businesses. And you mentioned small and tiny businesses. We actually have some of the largest businesses in Surrey that are members of Surrey Chambers as well, which is fantastic because they can offer support to the smaller companies.
In the work that we do with smaller businesses, one of the big issues they have is growth and starting to delegate tasks, and the business owner being able to have more time to work on their business. And we're always encouraging people to consider taking people on, and it's a big risk when you're a small business. And the whole apprentice concept is fantastic, and apprentices are in so many walks of life, and I know these guys are really big in supporting that, and it makes such a difference to smaller businesses. It's a cost-effective way, it de-risks the whole process, but it's a scary thing because there's lots of forms to fill in and stuff that they need to do to get the government support, and the Chamber is really good at it. I think most people misunderstand marketing because my definition of marketing is all about bringing leads to the business, and I think a lot of business owners think very much about sales, but they miss out that whole chunk of marketing is about building a database, bringing leads, then you can work with them and nurture them and keep talking to them, and eventually customers will fall out the bottom if you've got the right sales processes. But if people try and take someone from having never really met them before into a selling process, it's too big a leap. And particularly in this day and age, it's very competitive out there. So our focus is always about helping people build lists, build a really relevant database, and have proper conversations with them, and customers will follow.
They don't really know how to reach out and they don't know where to start. So if we can just get them along to at least one chamber meeting and get them into the sort of swing of things, what happens then is that we then introduce them on to people like Vanessa, to other experts in other areas who then can take them the next step, along the way. But I think what it is, there's a lot available to businesses, but they're just not really taking full advantage of it.
Well, just to make contact with us, there's all the details are on the various websites, and we'll always talk to them. We have lots of really powerful programs. Like I said at the beginning, I see myself as a marketing inspirer. I'm very direct and blunt with people, and that does seem that there's quite a lot of woolly people in this industry, and people don't tend to think that I'm very woolly. So I will always tend to tell them exactly the way it needs to be, and they either love it or they hate it, but I don't leave them in any doubt.
So come and join the Chambers of Commerce, particularly in Surrey, and we will represent you, we will promote you, and we will help you to grow your business through promoting what you do. And I have a particular thing to mention, which is we have an event on the 6th of November at the City Skyline in Epsom, completely free, and anybody that's watching would be absolutely welcome to come along and try for yourself. Nothing like try before you buy. And that will be on our website, www.surrey-chambers.co.uk.
And that was Louise Punter, the Chief Executive of Surrey Chambers of Commerce, and Vanessa Lanham-Day. And of course, we will have the Chambers of Commerce back on the programme later on next year, but not just Surrey Chambers. Louise has very kindly arranged for British Chambers of Commerce to come on with several chambers from around the country who will either be in the studio or Skyping in.
It's going to be a technical nightmare.
Oh, we'll be fine.
But we can't wait for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun doing it. And our thanks to Louise. She's been a great supporter of the programme. By the way, can I just thank everybody as well for all the cards that you sent in and all the well wishes that we've had leading up to this, the holiday season, in fact. But more importantly as well, all the emails that we've had from people who said they enjoyed the programme and that they watch on a regular basis. So thank you very much indeed for being out there and making this all worthwhile as well. Something that I would ask, if you'd like to sponsor the programme, there are opportunities to do that. We would actually brand the entire show around your particular business. So if you want more information on that, just simply send us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. All right, on to the last of our items in this particular special here on Christmas Day and the week of Christmas as well. We've now talked to Andy Williams. Now, Andy Williams, local SEO, all about SEOing your website. A lot of people don't really get SEO at all, do they?
No, they don't, but he was very clear and concise when he tried to explain it on the programme, despite the fact that you were teasing him about his name.
Andy Williams, yes. And I was waiting for him to give us a song as well, for that matter.
Well.
The whole point of SEO is, of course, is search engine optimization. That's what it stands for. But Google have changed the rules ever so slightly dramatically, and now you can have a higher ranking to a particular visitor or a particular search depending on their location to the location of the computer that is making the search. So in other words, if I was to put something into my computer here, businesses that are in a close proximity to this particular ISP or this particular location would actually come up as a higher ranking. And it's all down to local SEO. How do you maximize that return? Well, Andy Williams, he was the man, and he told us here on Business Connections Live. Search engine optimization. Now, if you're not into this, don't worry. This isn't going to be just an hour of complete tech. What we're talking about here are things that you can do proactively, that you can use on your website that'll increase traffic. Things have actually been happening as far as Google is concerned that may affect your page's rankings. So what does that mean? What's that all about? What's a ranking in the first place? Andy Williams, the digital marketing manager from Kazai, is with us. Andy, it's great to have you with us this evening. Search engine optimization.
Yep.
What does that mean then?
Basically, it's an art that allows you to make sure that your site is relevant and is found by Google and other search engines so that you can appear for search terms that people are looking for your site for. All the tactics Google don't want you to do, and it's an art in itself. A lot of people frown on it and say, you know, there's no room for black hat, but in all honesty, it does have its place and it can be effective. But for long-term investment, long-term gain, long-term rankings, don't go near it because you will get caught up very, very quickly by Google. What you need to do is stay within the rankings and use ethical SEO tactics, which is what we look into. The time that you become relevant is when Google knows exactly where you're searching from. So what we've seen with the Venice update that came out quite a while back, I think 2012, but a lot of people missed it, was that now you don't actually need to be logged in order for Google to give you local results. So this has kind of changed everything because local results are now pushing down the more generic rankings. So you could well be missing out on traffic that you thought you were otherwise getting. So because Google knows where you are because of your IP, it will then register what your postcode is, and it's basically the companies that are closest to the IP that is searching will be favorited in the search results. But there's two ways of looking at your blog. If you can't maintain your blog, then don't have one. But in the same breath, it's really important that you do have one because it creates content that Google can come regularly and crawl. You can do so many things with a blog. You can outreach to people that you wouldn't otherwise be able to with your site. You can answer questions that people might be asking that are relevant to your products or even the sector that you're in. But like I said, if you can't maintain it, then the last thing I want to see when I go to a site is that the last blog update was 2012. That just says to me that people aren't looking after their site.
It's a bit of a click moment, isn't it?
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah. So if I see that, I'm probably not going to trust the site that much. When Google ranks something, they're ranking a page, they're not ranking a site. Your overall site strength has a say in how strong your pages within the site are, but basically when you search for something, you get returned a page. So effectively you could rank really well for one page on your site and the rest of the site's nowhere to be found. That's plausible, that's something that could happen. The things that you should be looking to do is make sure that your on-page optimization is up to date. Make sure that you've got all your local information on your site. If you can have a blog and you can keep it updated, then make sure you have one of those as well. And have a look at the rich snippets and the data highlighter as well. If you can get local listings from the kind of sites like Yale.com or Yelp, then make sure you can create profiles on there. Make sure that the information on there is completely filled out and the address on there is exactly the same as the one that you've got on your website. And if you do nothing else, make sure that you go onto Google and you create all the Google profiles that you can. And again, make sure that all the information on there is relevant and up to date.
Andy Williams from Kazai, looking at local SEO. Great program. And that probably wraps up this particular show, in fact. So thank you very much indeed for your company, and thank you very much for watching us over the last hour. We're going to be back again next week, New Year's Day, and we've got another special for you where we'll be looking back over the last 4 months or so of Business Connections Live. But from myself, Steve Highland,
And Linda Bazant.
we'll see you again. Look after yourselves. Have a great Christmas and a very happy and prosperous New Year. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.